Hey, I'm Thunder Walker with the Thunder Walker Experience, and thank you for joining us at the Crystal Network, the Crystal Ball Network, exactly. And we're at MJBizCon. I'm really, really excited about being here today. This is my third or fourth one, and it's always magical. It's always interesting because you meet new and wonderful people. And so I'm so excited today for this gentleman who's joining me along with his magical service animal. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. Introduce yourself.
So I'm MadManPlant, or known as Stefan Walter, and we are the creators, me and Honey, and my beautiful wife who's not here, of the Smoke Busters podcast.
Awesome, awesome. So when you travel around in cannabis, there's so many interesting people that you meet, and everybody has a story. So when I ran into you at Mad Max, right?
Yep.
When I ran into you, you had this mask on your face. And every time I saw you on the podcast, you had a mask. In all your advertising, you had your mask on. Explain that. Explain what that was about.
Well, the mask is really simple. So when I started growing in Virginia, it was illegal. So to create content, that's what I do for a living. I couldn't obviously put my face out there without risk of immediate punishment. Mm-hmm. Through then, I really started focusing on mental health and clarity after being a 3D products company. Mm-hmm. With that, the mask was originally to be more about the individual. So it took the light off me because you can't see what I look like. So it's only based on who I'm talking to or what I'm showing you because there's no face, right?
Right, right.
So it was built off of that kind of philosophy. The reason why I've taken the mask off is I really want to get to the next level of cannabis, much less what like you're doing, following kind of your footsteps of building that legacy, but also in arenas where the mask just isn't going to be appreciated. Mm-hmm. And even though millions of people might like it, for what I'm trying to do as far as lobbying, people's rights, reform, a lot of the things that I'm new to, that I'm just dipping my toes into, I know that those arenas won't appreciate that in the future. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna build the transparency now with the audience, with myself, with the podcast, and allow that to be the next stage of MadManPlant. So out of the garden and like you, making a real impact.
I believe in that. I know you said that you work with a lot of nonprofits and your hair is this amazing pink color. Oh my God, it's to die for. It's really, really beautiful. Tell me a little bit about how you've been able to help and donate to different nonprofits.
Well, one of the biggest things is a Freemason, which I almost got kicked out of Masonry for smoking a joint, which is the funny part.
Wow.
I'll tell you a two-year story later on that. But my biggest thing is I've been very blessed. I've been a person that's almost taken his life. I've also been a person that almost lost his life. Mm-hmm. And in that, I see the value of others. I see the value of education. And when we look at cannabis spaces like this, it's a great way to draw people in. So how we're doing that with charities, to answer your question, is we're bringing them in and creating one-day events where we bring in public speakers. So it's not, the drive is, yes, cannabis is there, but the event is not, it's not a cannabis event, it's a summit. Mm-hmm. It's to build awareness, education in a safe space so we can introduce people. So when we deal with breast cancer, which we just raised $2,600 for this year, had 400 people at our event, my first event ever, took 6 months of planning. I pretty much did it on my own with one other person, GI Genetics. But to build that, they had never been to an event like that. They didn't know what to expect, and they even showed reservation of saying, hey, we're a little bit nervous. Mm-hmm. They had a great event. And to be able to raise money with a bunch of stoners for charity, which we all care about, mm-hmm. we can do that in any arena, whether it's BizCon or just a backyard event. Mm-hmm. So my passion is to show people by breaking the stigma that we're good for business. We're good for you. We're good for nonprofits. We're good for the quality of people, and we care.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love how you're building your brand one step at a time, because you really can't necessarily jump out there. Each state is so different. And so when you have all those differences, it's really hard to be able to pinpoint what your message should be. So how many states do you think that you've traveled to throughout your whole process of building your career?
So we're probably just at 20. We did 15 states this year and then 8 states last year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and that was really cool because for the first time we were able to bring brands on the road with us, act pretty much as like a satellite representative, you know, show their products off in booth spaces, conventions just like this. And it saves them manpower, team, and there's a lot of deliverables that we were able to offer to make it, you know, functional, make it cost, you know, worthy, and to do that. And what I found was being behind a camera like this is great. Your impact and what you do for women and just the traveling that you do, you know, for somebody that, you know, I'm kind of following in the footsteps of you. You're much more established in this space, have built a great rapport for yourself. It takes that level of caring, and just like Josh from Raw, I was just in his forum for speaking. You have to have passion. You have to have a genuine care for people. And when you empower somebody, you and you've seen this, you know, time after time through yourself with women, you have the ability to light them on fire. And what does that do for an industry? What does that do for a community? What does that do for a narrative, which we're so desperately trying to change?
I totally agree with you. But my biggest question to you right now, and I need to understand this, what responsibilities as influencers do we have to the plant and to this industry?
I think authenticity is one. Calling it like you see it, not trying to fix your mistakes and trying to be professional all the time. I think in a lot of times with content and marketing and influencing, we want this perfect image. But I've found more transparency in being myself, showing my mistakes, not, you know, trying to edit everything out. And I think one thing we do as content creators and what we owe it to other people is to show other people that it's possible for themselves. Encourage other people that we're not just some elite group of people. We're all bleeding the same. We all just find niche markets in the values of what we pursue, and we let that become our identities. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I totally agree. I think that the next step in cannabis is influencing. I know that a lot of cannabis users and brands tend to, they pull in celebrities for one thing or another, but that only, it seems like that's a short campaign and it only lasts so long. I mean, it's the least hanging fruit, the least resistance. But as someone that actually smokes the plant, that lives in the industry, I think we have a bigger responsibility because we're not going anywhere.
No.
And that is the reason why I'm so pushed to keep going in influencing cannabis and cannabis brands. So tell me this, what's your favorite? I mean, I always have to share that. What's your favorite way of consuming?
Personally, I love dabbing. I think that's the best because for me, on the go, I'm in environments a lot where I can't smell like weed. So I love dabbing, but personally, as a grower, I love smoking my own. Nothing like a big fat raw joint or a king palm, you know, leaf to set you off.
Absolutely. Do you see that this industry, it goes all over different age groups? And I think that's interesting too. I mean, I own a dispensary in Oklahoma. I've seen people come in their 80s, all the way down to maybe 20 or 21. They may be in college in Oklahoma. So what have you seen the market go? More toward older people, or we're still in that millennial age?
I think the millennial age is coming up, but the millennials don't have the money. When we talk about big business and cannabis and narrative, I still think it's the older people that hold the title, and that's why we still deal with this war on, you know, cannabis type deal. What I would think though is older people especially are way more interested than we think. And I see this as an educator because I teach in-person classes about cloning, cultivation, home growing, and most of my audience are older people that look like my parents.
Oh, wow.
You know, I expect them to be young people wanting to grow. No, it's the older generations. And we were just talking with a seltzer company that's focused on low dosing. It's because they want to create a space for older people. And I think, like I said, with them holding the share of the money and the level of interest, is not everybody wants to get blasted away. So when we can target, and I think weed is a spectrum that we live in. You have the beginner, you have the experienced, you have the young, you have the old, you have the sick, you have the healthy. You know, there's just so many vast things. But I definitely think that the older markets definitely are way more interested as education comes out, as the stigma is starting to fade away, as states become legal, as like a beautiful, I'm sure like your dispensary is, a very nice place to get information, to get product, to feel like I'm not doing something shady. And I think that's what the older market is starting to see from us as pioneers.
So before we finish up, you have to introduce, is it a he?
She.
You have to introduce her and what that means to the community as far as, I've seen so many comfort animals, certified comfort animals. Tell us a little bit about your journey with meeting her.
So first I'd like to say there's a lot of dogs that throw on a vest that say service animal. Under ADA law, the things that make a service animal are, one, it's recognized by a medical professional, that's a doctor, a nurse practitioner, some medical institute. Honey's recognized by Mary Washington. Second of all, dogs are task trained, which means Honey doesn't make me feel better. Honey practices in things like deep pressure therapy, which is a form where she will lay on me and lick my face if I was in a dramatic state. Tactile redirection is where I'm picking at my hands really bad because of anxiety. She will notice me messing with my hands. She will put her head between my hands, and now I will be massaging her hands, not destructing my own body. Things like that. The alarm goes off. Honey's being trained right now with vanilla extract to get my medicine for me. So how Honey plays a role into all the marketing, smoke busters in general, and the cannabis community, like you asked, is the fact that she's breaking the stigma of making mental health and awareness and vulnerability and safe space okay. There's so many times that we live, I deal with a lot of imposter syndrome. When I was on the plane here, I was thinking, you know, I'm so minute compared to other people. What have I done for this space? Why am I, you know, here? You know, and I had to change that my way of thinking because we all do it. So with that being said, to me, Honey represents the fact that I can use cannabis alone and work with my animal to deal with my mental health, to share that with others so other people can move away from suicide, depression, anxiety, and even if you're going through that, you know that just the big dogs and the people that you look up to, they also deal with that. And that makes us more human.
Absolutely, and going through those types of issues, that has brought me closer to spirituality, and that's one of the reasons why I call it the Crystal Ball Network, because I truly believe that we can create our identity and our future based on our thoughts, and so we have to make sure that those thoughts are very clear and very distinct on what we believe about ourselves and about our surroundings. So I love that you're doing that. So tell us how they can find you.
Biggest thing you can do is go to MadManPlant.com. Go on social media, all the Instagrams, everything is MadManPlant, Smoke Busters. Support the channel by watching us, sharing our stories. There's so much about addiction, PTSD, rape, trauma. Some people have really laid the groundwork for you to do some healing. And just like with Thunder, make sure to follow her. I look up to her. I appreciate you so much. You're such a catalyst to this industry and what you do for women. You know, it's an honor to even be somebody you consider to be sitting here with you on your podcast. So thank you for everything that you do. And I'm just amplifying all the good that you've already put out.
Thank you so much. Well, tell them how they can find you. Give them your website. You didn't do
MadManPlant.com.
MadManPlant.com. So definitely give him a follow. I am Thunder Walker with the Thunder Walker Experience, and we are at MJBizCon with the Jack Herrera Cup. The original one, and his bus. This is so cool. You guys got to see the inside. I'm going to show you that part. It is amazing.